interview.
Yeah, well, we have done that before, so that's okay. Mr. Mark Ridley.
Thanks, Pary.
Now, you are real.
Yeah. You thought I wasn't, right?
No, yeah. The first time I walked in, I was like, "Oh, like he's real," because there's like so many restaurants that have like Sal's or like the name, and then this is Mark Ridley's, and come to realize that it was Mike Jeter who was the first one to tell me. It's like, Mark's a real guy, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like he's here. I'm like, he's here right now, in spirit. It's like, no, like he's here in his office. And I was like, what?
Well, the reason and I'll tell you, there's a reason I did that, because back when I started the club, I was working out of other people's restaurants. I was just producing shows.
Oh,
so
okay.
I would be in one location for a certain amount of time. Then if I outgrew that, I'd move to another location. And Robert Wool, the comedian, actor, he said, Mark, you should always have your name in front of Comedy Castle, because I already had it trademarked. He said, but you want them to know that it's your club wherever you are. I mean, this is the location we're in now is my 7th location. I've been here the longest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I started when I started in 1979. I was in a little small 90-seat room, and then moved to a larger one, and then moved to a smaller one, and just kind of moving along the way until I took on business partners. But I always had the name Mark Ridley in front of it, and it wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't, but it did help the branding.
Oh yeah, it must. Cause
I was on the stage for 14 years as the MC. So
really?
Yeah,
oh, I didn't know that.
I did every single job that was required in order for me to try and turn a profit. So if the comedian was flying in, I would go to the airport, pick them up. If they had to do radio runs, I would take them to do radios. I'd take them back to the airport on Sunday. I'd MC all the shows.
You were the ultimate hustler. You did everything.
I had to do everything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's incredible, man. So yeah, we have questions for this one. Normally they don't know, but what do you look for in a comedian that gives you the confidence to allow them to feature a headline here? How do you know when someone's ready?
Well, it's crowd reaction is the biggest thing.
Okay.
And I think it's just years of experience on my part and a little bit of instinct, and it's somebody who's actually found their voice as a comic on stage. Lewis Black explained it best to me years ago. He said for many, many years he would be doing his act without being that angry guy, that curmudgeon.
Yeah, I love Lewis Black.
And he had another comedian said, look, I'm up there yelling, but I'm not saying anything. You're saying everything that I'm trying to present. Right. He said, you should have that persona. So Lewis started with his theater background, started getting more, if you remember the old Daily Show, really aggressive, the curmudgeon, just angry about everything, and it just flipped. I mean, I saw him, he was doing the club one year, and then he started doing Fade to Black on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and then we sold out every show, and then the following year after that he was in theaters. So I just saw that progression, and I said, there's a guy who found his own voice. Yeah.
What would you is that the same for featuring and headlining? You just want someone who understands who they are? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, because I've seen too many younger, inexperienced, and it comes with experience. They try to emulate like Jim Carrey or Lewis.
I think when you're beginning, for one, you don't know what you're looking for. It's not like you can't find your voice, that you don't know how to get to that avenue. Right. So you try to imitate people who inspired you to do this.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of comedians, they want to just skip the walk. They want to go from crawling to running.
I want to skip the walk.
But there is a process.
They're not alone.
There is a process, and you have to be part of that process. You don't go into a gym and just walk over to the heaviest weights and start picking those up.
Well, Mark, let me tell you, this mistake has been made.
Yeah, okay.
It didn't work.
It's been made a lot, and and when I was more involved, and I'm still involved with the club. I book all the acts, but I also rely on a lot of feedback and on the videos that I watch on all the shows that are recorded here.
Yeah, you watch everything.
I do.
Right?
Yes, yeah, and it does help because I can hear audience reaction. And I love being in the room. I used to love sitting in the back of the room and really watching the crowd reaction. But I'm trying to do it now remotely, and when I'm doing it remotely, I'm closing my eyes and listening to the crowd, and then listening to the comedian too.
So when you're closing, that's just sound. You don't think the visual of a comedian on stage
sound is very important to me. I have microphones in the room so I can hear the crowd reaction.
He hears.
I hear and see everything. Yep. Yeah.
That's what everyone says. Like, that's what Bill keeps telling everyone when they first walk in. That's why I didn't think you were real, because I thought it was just like sort of like he's above us at all times sort of thing. Come to realize it's a literal statement. You do see and hear everything.
I am. That's right. That's correct.
Have you seen Dave Chappelle's new special, Sticks and Stones?
I have not.
You have not?
No, it's because I'm so busy watching what I have here at the club. So when I do have time, I may watch it today, I may watch it tomorrow, but I like to stay on top. I mean, keep in mind, I'm watching every show that's on here.
That's true, yeah.
I have to watch Open Mic, I've got to watch the LA Comedy Challenge, I've got to watch, well, like with Kathleen Madigan, I know her act so well. I mean, not that I know her act well, because she changes. She adds almost a new hour every time she comes in. So it's like tonight I'll be watching her show in its entirety, so I don't have to watch it next week when I'm at home. Mm-hmm. But that gives me the opportunity to say, okay, I want to watch this show, and watch these specials. And and normally what I do is, let's say it's an hour-long special, I'll watch maybe a half an hour of it. I just want to get a flavor, a feel. I
was gonna bring that up actually, and when someone sends you a video to like a clip of themselves to consider for like featuring or working here, do you watch the whole thing or do you just like skip through it?
I'll watch the first. They have to grab me within the first 6 minutes.
Oh, well, I hope in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, I hope. And then if I really like it, I'll watch a little more. The biggest mistake that I'll get is poor quality video.
Okay.
And I'll turn it off right then and there. I'll email them back and say, please send me another video that's of a better quality with a nice audio, because I've had videos where they've had their friend with their iPhone recording them, and the friend is jiggling it and laughing louder than the person. So every technological mistake that can be made is being done in that one video, and that's and listen, I had one the guy who's in charge of scouting for the Just for Laughs festival. I sent him a video of a comedian, and it was my mistake. I didn't watch the video at first. I just knew the history of the guy. I knew he was decent, so I sent it along to the scout, and he said, Mark, this guy's just not self-aware. He's not aware that he's not grabbing the people up front. It's a poor quality video. He said, I'm quite surprised that you sent this along to me. I apologize, and I gave that feedback to the comedian. So
that's nice of you to actually give that feedback instead of just not replying. That's one of the cool things about him, is he does reply to email.
Yeah.
No one replies. Like
really?
You're one of the few people who, when I've emailed, you didn't just ignore it. You actually said, like, let's get back together at this time. I was like, sweet, he's replying. I'm telling you, when I ask people to do this sort of thing, almost no one replies.
Really?
Almost no one. At least from you, you were like, I'm busy now, let's talk about this on this day.
Yeah.
And here we are, so it does work.
Well, I think that there's, when somebody doesn't reply, that's a bit arrogant on their part. No, they don't have the time to be courteous, because look, you're climbing a ladder. You're trying, in the entertainment business, you're climbing a ladder. And my mother, who is an entertainer, said, remember, there's two sides to that ladder. There's the upside, and then there's a downside. So you have to be, I think, cognizant of the fact that this person is really trying to break into the business, and acknowledge them, and hopefully, give them some feedback when it's necessary. I can't honestly critique every single video that I get, because
there's too many.
Throughout the year, and especially when I start getting closer to booking period, there's probably 400 emails coming in a month. So it gets pretty busy.
And at least 200 are from me. So when someone's coming up, do you think there's anything off limits to talk about on stage?
No. I think that's one of the beauties of comedy. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think that because I've had this happen in the past, and I have turned off the lights and the microphone on a comedian where they're extremely racist. Okay. I don't tolerate that at all. It's not even, there's nothing funny about it. It's just their own feelings coming out, and that honesty like that. I mean, it's one thing to be a comedian that's honest about what's going on in their life. But if they're an honest racist or bigot, I don't.
Then they're still racist. They're just honest about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing funny. There's nothing that But for the most part, that's the beauty of stand-up comedy. You can pretty much say and do whatever you want, and I've seen and heard pretty much everything on the stage.
Oh, yeah. Do you recommend that when comedians are getting better, do they keep clean?
Well, I think that used to be the standard back in the old days. Now that being said, that was because if you wanted to be on Johnny Carson, let's say.
Yeah, the late night,
a late night show, and there was only really one. There was Carson.
Yes.
So you had to have a solid 6 minutes. Jim McCauley, who was the talent coordinator, would visit the comedy clubs, and if you're doing here's my 6 minutes, Jim, he goes, take that word out, put this word in. You'd have to do it exactly the way he said to do it, because otherwise you're not going to be on the show. So, but nowadays with so many, with Netflix, with HBO, all the new services coming out, Amazon, you can pretty much say and do anything you want. But on the flip side, and I've talked to comedians who do this, if you want to get into the corporate market, and there's big money there. I have a guy that used to work for me that would use the F-bomb quite a bit throughout his act. Well, he kind of looked at himself one day and said, I've got to get beyond this, making this much money per week. I want to go to the next level. So he wrote basically a self-help book, and he got into the speakers market. Well, he's making $25,000 a speech now.
Oh,
because he gets out there, he talks a little bit about his book, he does little things, and he told me he did 11 speeches in 1 month. Well, you do 11 times 25,000, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So he found something that really works for him, but it's something that he really believed in. He wasn't writing a book and promoting something he didn't believe in. He really believed in this. So
he found his voice.
He found his voice, exactly, yeah. And he had other comedians who wanted to do it. And he said, initially I made the mistake of recommending them. And one guy said hell in his speech, and he was dropped just like that. So you have to be squeaky clean. So it really depends. I mean, I just spoke at the Motor City Comedy Festival a couple of weeks ago. It's great to want to be a stand-up, but there are thousands of stand-ups out there. Where do you want to go once you get to a certain level? It used to be you could do the late night circuit. You could get a sitcom. You could do the festivals and hope for a holding deal. Now I know guys that have gone on to be directors, producers, showrunners, writers. I mean, they can split off and become something else and make a decent living at it.
Do you think that's better for the art form? Because what you said, now we have, it used to be like you were on HBO and that was like the special. Right. But now you can just put it on YouTube. Like Andrew Schultz, he just put all his stuff on YouTube and that's what's taking him up. So do you think that's good or bad that you don't need to, I mean, maybe, I guess, you don't actually need to perform at comedy clubs, but if you don't know if you are good enough to be at that level yet.
True.
So is this good or bad for comedy?
I think it's good. Anything where you're getting your name and your act out there is good. But comedy clubs are a necessity. And I think even more so, open mics are really a necessity. There are many comedy clubs that won't have it.
Open mics?
They will not have open mics. They'll be open 4 nights a week, do as many shows as they can with the headliner, feature, and opener. To me, I like developing and seeing that talent pool develop with Bill and Joel, and I get their notes, their feedback. I mean, besides me watching it, I'm getting feedback from those guys, and I'm getting feedback from the management staff here at the club. I have stacks of notes, here's reviews.
Yeah, when we were moving it, that's what all those are.
Yeah.
Man, because I've bothered Bill a lot, not just Bouchard, the Big Bill as well.
Big Bill, yeah. Bill Lodge, right. Right.
Who's the nicest, for those of you who don't know who Bill Lodge is, he's a security guy here at Mark Ridley's, and he's one of the nicest people I think I've ever met, and he looks like he'll chew your head off.
He's been the showroom manager for a number of years, and his background, he was a bouncer for many years, so he knows how to talk to people, and in a friendly way, but persuasively.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. So. How do you consider a comedian as because it's not just how good you are on stage, it's also a business, right?
Right.
So what would you say to somebody who, right now during this conversation, if I was just trying to give you my act, instead of actually have a conversation with you, do you value that less than a comedian who knows when to be serious and when to be funny?
Absolutely. It's like, why are you doing this for me now? It's, I already know where you're at. Maybe I'm not saying for sure where you're at in your career. I'd rather talk to you one-on-one and talk about the things that are important. I want to, and I hate to say this, but I've seen people that have gone on open mic and tried for years and years and years to try and break into it because they're not self-aware. They're not aware that they're doing the same thing over and over and over. It's the same material. They're not experimenting. They're not writing. I mean, the most important thing you can do, and this was told to me by Jerry Seinfeld years ago, is that he would get up, he would meditate, he would exercise, and then he would read the papers, and then he would write for 4 hours straight every single day.
4 hours?
Because it was based on what he had seen the night before, what he had read in the papers or in the magazines, and you just sit and write. And he still has every scrap of paper he's ever written a joke.
Yeah, the yellow paper.
Yeah, the yellow legal pad,
yep.
right. So I think it's important to just keep stretching your boundaries, and again, that's going back to finding your voice, finding your sense of self. But there aren't too many comedians that are off stage. If there's a group of us, I mean, I've played golf in California and with a group of comedians, we all have fun.
That's different, yeah, because that's like a laid-back environment.
Yes, like exactly. But if we're just having a conversation, there's no need for that person to be on with me or me with them. It's just let's get down to the meat of what we're talking about.
Okay, and that's a pretty good policy. How often are you on like Instagram? Like when you see like Instagram comedians, if you know what I'm talking about, like do you consider those to be real comedians, or do you think they're just funny actors?
Well,
how do you define comedian?
To me, a comedian is somebody who can walk into a comedy club or a theater and hold the audience, hold their attention for 45 to 60 minutes, let's say. Again, I have Kathleen Madigan this weekend. I'm the only comedy club she plays in the country. She was just at the Warner Theater where she sold out 3,000 seats in one night. And then she comes here.
So many people.
I know.
Like 3,000 people.
Yeah. And her friend Lewis does the same thing, Lewis Black, and they're doing 250 dates a year. And they're almost always sold out. But that's why they work so hard at what they do. I would never say that they spend a lot of time on Instagram, and there might be something funny about it, but they're not Instagram comedians, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that deep down, they remember the importance of the club and how they came up. They're club comedians at heart. Even Jerry Seinfeld.
That's what I was trying to get at. I'm like, they grew up here.
Yeah.
They didn't grow up on the internet.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
But did you think, because now with like what you said earlier, it's like now you have more opportunities, but that's also because like the way that I think about it, it used to be like there was like gatekeepers. There was like you can't just upload your content onto like TV for free. Like someone had to like watch you, approve you, and put you up. But do you think comedy specials are still considered special anymore? Because anyone can put one out. Like, are they actually special?
Well, I think that they are special because you still have to get to a certain point and somebody has to say, yes, we're going to put that on. Now, that being said, there are new streaming services coming out. I don't know if you're familiar with Quibi that's coming out in April.
I've heard of it. I don't know what.
My younger son just did a documentary and they purchased the documentary. It's 10 minutes long. So they're looking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're looking for what are called quick bites. That's what Quibi stands for. Quick bites.
Okay.
And you're only able to watch it on your phone or your iPad. And so that's another new streaming service. Disney, Amazon, Netflix. So if you're on and eyeballs are on it, that's special. YouTube is, that's a special.
But don't you want more eyeballs on it? Like.
Yeah, in theory, but if you're doing what you love and you're earning money at it and it's not hacky, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Then that's special. I mean, it's wonderful to see that so many people can get their specials out there now. And I would like to be able to watch more specials, but my time is devoted to who comes into my club.
But that makes sense.
When they've reached when they've already done their special, I've already had them here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point. Right. You're not.
So I don't need to know.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, they're at the apex.
Yeah.
So I want to watch those people now that are going to be there in the next few years.
Okay, that's our time.
All right.
Mark Ridley, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys for watching this. Stay fresh, stay golden.